Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Smita ji, for a wonderful session. Loved Raghavan ji's rendezvous with Swamiji, the first one that he had. Very inspiring. All right, who's the host here? I hope I'm not stealing somebody's thunder already. Whoever is the host, you need to unmute yourself and then announce.
Radhe, yeah. Radhe Radhe. Today I have the privilege of co-hosting the session, Nitin bhai.
Okay, all right.
And thank you so much for the honor. And we all welcome you back after a long gap of 5 days. We hope we all are very excited to be back on this session. So let's start. We already late by 3 minutes. Nitin bhai. Radhe Radhe.
No worries. Radhe Radhe. Very warm welcome, everyone. After a bit of a break, look forward to having another engaging discussion on a very, very fascinating topic that we started off. So we're going to discuss the concept of action in inaction and inaction in action. It can be a bit confusing, but after today's session, it will not be. So let's get started. I'm going to pull up my screen for the opening prayers, and then we will get deeper into the topic of our discussion today. So let me share my screen and we will get started. Hope all of you had a great weekend and doing great. All right. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, right. Perfect.
We'll get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, a very warm good morning, good evening to all of you. So let's get started. Today we are on chapter 4, verse 18. So let's get started and you're welcome to follow along. Karmanya karmaya pashe akarmani cha karmayaha sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta kritsna karma krit. All right, who do we have? First hand.
Yeah, we have Shri Ramya ji. Radhe Radhe Shri Ramya ji.
Shri Ramya ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Karmanya karmaya pashet akarmani cha karmaya sa buddhiman manushyetu sa yukta krishna karma krit. Thank you.
Very nice, Shri Ramya ji. Thank you. Radhe Radhe. All right, let's take a few more hands.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Karmanya karmaya paschet akarmani cha karmaya sabhattiman manushyetu sayukta kutan karma kutaha.
Thank you. Very nice, Hitalji. All right, I can take a few more hands.
Sandhya ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Karmanya karma yaha pashyed akarmani cha karma yaha sabuddhiman manushyeshu sayuktaha kritsna karma krit.
Very nice, Sandhya. So here we have a Vrindavan return. So good to see you back. All right, let's take a few more hands.
Sumesh ji. Radhe Radhe. Sumesh ji.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Sumesh ji.
Karmanya karmaya pased karmani cha karmaya sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayukta कृष्ण कर्म कृत राधे राधे
It's akarmani. It's not karmani. So that's how it's called. You're not speaking. If you can. All right. For a moment, it seemed like we are in Ukraine. All right. Yes, we can take a few more hands.
Ashutosh ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Ashutosh ji.
कर्मण्य कर्म यः पश्ये अकर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु स युक्तः कृष्ण कर्म कृत्.
Wonderful, very nice, Ashutosh ji. Radhe Radhe. We'll take maybe 3 more hands, 4 more.
Yeah,
Let's
we
see
have got
how many we
two.
can cover. Okay, we can cover all real quick if we can do that.
Akshita ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Akshita ji.
राधे राधे कर्मण्य कर्म यः पश्येद कर्म निच कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु स युक्तः कृत्स्न कर्म कृत्.
Very nice,
Thank you.
Akshita ji. All right, we can take real quick.
Sam ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Karmanya karm ya pashid, akarmani cha karmaya, sabuddhiman manusyeshu, sayukta Krishna karma krit. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice. All right, we can cover real quick if we can.
Radhe Radhe.
Meenakshi ji,
Yeah.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Meenakshi.
Yakarma yah pasyet akarmani cha karma yaha sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayukta kritsna karma krita.
Very nice,
Radhe.
Meenakshi ji. Radhe Radhe. All right, we can take 3 more hands.
Ragi ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, very
Yes.
much.
Okay. Karmanye karmya pasyet akarmani cha karmaya sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayukta kritsan karma krit.
Very nice, Ragi ji. All right, we can take maybe 2 or 3 more hands.
Rupa ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Karmanya karmaya pashyat akarmani cha karmayaha sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta krishna karma krit.
Wonderful. All right, so how many? 3 real quick.
They are not ending. They are always adding up
Okay,
one more.
so maybe all right,
Radhe
last 2 we can take them.
Radhe Radhe Shamji, Radhe Radhe Nitin.
स्नानं केलेले
Okay. Karmanya karmaya pashed akarmani cha karmaya sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayukta kritna karma krit.
Very
Radhe
nice,
Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. All right, last one. Maybe 2 more. No more. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Karmanya karmaya pasye akarmani cha karmayaha sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayukta kritsna karma krit.
Wonderful.
Radhe Radhe.
Nice. All right, Venkatji, we can take you real quick, and then that's the last one.
Venkat ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe Shyam ji. Karmanya karma yah pasyed akarmani cha karma yah sabuddhiman manusyeshu sayukta krishna karma krut.
Wonderful. All right, so let's get started. Karmani means action, akarma in inaction. Yah who pashyet see akarmani in action. Cha also karma action. Yah who sah de buddhiman wise. Manusheshu amongst humans. Sah de yukta yogis. Kritsna karma krit performers of all kinds of actions. The short translation for this goes like, those who see action in inaction and inaction in action are truly wise amongst humans. Although performing all kinds of actions, they are yogis and masters of their actions. All right, a lot of action, a lot of inaction, right? Play of words. So let's get started. So as you can see, we are going to take refuge in Bhagavad Gita to understand this key concept. What is action and inaction, 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 right? You see people running away, you see people working, and then you see people lazing around, right? I can relate to the lazing around person the most. So this is how typically the different demographics of different people are. So let's see now the concept here. Now, we saw this concept of people running away from the world, right? The world is just too troublesome for them. The paying the mortgage, the boss is not cooperating, the family members are on top of your head all the times. And then the news, the world is also on fire everywhere, right? Issues in Middle East, issues in neighborhood, stock market is crashing. And then you have a relative who's always on your head, right? So then people say enough of this world. Let's just run away from it. Okay, that's one category. Then the second category is, so this is also called, the other two categories, as you see, people just lie down and they say enough of it. I just want to chill and relax in life. Okay, that's all there is to be. And then the third one is just dull and bored. Okay, enough of, like, somebody asked me, what do you do for a living? I used to give a response. I hit a freaking keyboard for a living. Okay, I always used to tell that I'm an IT engineer. I said that's an interesting way of tell, because end of the day, the whole day I'm hitting on that keyboard. So people get bored of that as well, right? So now there is one kind of inaction where people, they look up their social duties as encumbering, burdensome, and they renounce them out of their indolence. Okay, some heavyweight words have been used here. Indolence basically means laziness, that you just want to run away from it. Okay. We don't want to take responsibility, or even if that responsibility is becoming a little stressful for us, just things are just not working out in our favor, and you just feel like leaving everything and just running away from everything. That mindset can happen, right? People at home are not cooperating, kids are not cooperating, job is not cooperating, son, daughter are not cooperating, right? Where to go, basically? That kind of a feeling can come in our life, right? Hopeless feeling, basically. So this is called inaction, where you say, okay, I'm just going to take a break from everything. Okay, that is an inaction. Now, this all is an inaction, basically, where your mind tells you that you need to turn your back away from everything and just take your me time. Just not do anything at all. Okay, let's wait out everything in life. It's kind of an inaction where you have turned your back towards your action and just hoping that with the passage of time, things will work away by themselves. Okay? That is a kind of an inaction as you look at it. They are not resorting to action. They are not doing what is needed of them at that moment. They're simply turning their backs to it. Right? So this looks like a very clear case of inaction. There is running away from action, or refraining from action, or abstaining from action, you can call it. This is called inaction. Now let's look at it in perspective. Okay, next picture will give you a bit of a perspective here. Now this guy is running away, but you give him a vacation to Goa or Hawaii, happily they will take it, right? So in their mind, they just want to relax and take a break from everything around them, because things are just too miserable in life, right? So this guy has vacation in mind. Now the other person, he's lying down, but he's thinking about his friends and maybe his ex-girlfriend or whatever the case may be, right? Or friends, what did they do to me? This person did that and this not, right? So this person has all that stuff going on in his head, even though this person is lying. And then the third person is thinking, okay, why am I stuck in the worst kind of a job where people don't cooperate? There's so much of office politics. The boss is always sitting on my head asking for timesheets. So this person is thinking of that perfect dream job he's going to land one day. It is said that people who complain about office politics are usually the one who do not know how to navigate it. So God has said, I've given you this buddhi, and this buddhi is given to us not to put it in matters of God, kintu parantu, but how can Hanuman lift such a big mountain and fly over the sky? How much time Pushpa Kumar took? Okay, let me calculate the velocity and distance and prove that Ramayana was wrong. God said, no. Buddhi is given to you to operate effectively in the world. Figure out how to deal with the challenging situations around you, with your relatives, with your family members, at your job. Just be smart. That is what Buddhi is given to us for. And then when we struggle with life, when we are able to not keep pace with life, we complain that God has given us a raw deal. I have been dealt with lemons. And even if we are dealt with lemons, in order to make a lemonade, we still need a bit of sugar, right? So some level of positivity needs to be there. And they say, right, when life deals with us lemonades, you make lemons, you make a lemonade out of it, but you still need a bit of sugar and some kind of a mindset around that as well. The key point here is, even though on the surface, on the outside, these may seem to be inaction, but actually their mind is actually hankering for something else. So it is not truly an inaction. It's not truly an inaction. It is actually an action. For little one, he gets excited around this time, and he takes pleasure in troubling me, especially when you least expect it. Okay, you can say hi and then go. Say hello to everyone and go now. Go. Okay, so the point here is that even though it seems like inaction, but it is called action. So the first concept that we are discussing about is action and inaction is actually the same concept, where on the outside it may seem like inaction, but on the inside there is an action going on. So this is the concept of action in inaction, and we are going to map it to the concept of karma, akarma, vikarma, all that stuff that we have spoken about. So this is called action in inaction. So slothness, laziness, even though you're not doing an action, but your mind, whatever it's craving, it might be craving for a good sleep, relaxation, but other things are going on in their head. That is called action in inaction. Now let's look at the other aspect of it. I hope this concept is clear. We'll keep on building on it. Now they give up the actions physically, but their mind continues to contemplate upon the objects of the senses. That is the symptom of action in inaction. And these people, they may appear to be inactive, but their lethargic idleness is actually sinful action. Lord Krishna actually condemns it. He says, this is condemnable, what you are doing here. Running away from stuff, just creating a web of complaints and making it as an excuse is just not recommended. You have to take life head on, is what Krishna is telling us. Running away is not an option, because think of it like this. Everything that comes in our life comes for a reason and a purpose and for a lesson. Now, if you have simply avoided it, thinking you are very smart, you cannot avoid the lesson out of it. That means you have postponed it, but you have not really, what do you call that, dealt with it. Till the point you deal with it, you can only postpone it, but it is still inevitable. It will still come, because if you have not learned the lesson around it, the issue, the problem, the challenge would still come. It's a very simple logic. Even in material world, we are made to repeat the standard. If we fail in second standard or third standard or fourth standard, what happens? We are made to repeat it. In spiritual class, if we are failing a test by simply avoiding it or thinking, that wishing it away, it will not go away until we learn the lesson. So the sooner we learn it, the better we are. Otherwise, the lesson will simply keep on repeating until we graduate out of it. And then the next lesson will come, and then the next, and then the next. Okay. Because God's plan is to make you perfect. He's a perfectionist, nothing short of a perfection. But then He'll give you the lessons that are well within our appetite, well within our control. We have to have that firm faith around it. But if we simply turn our back towards it and find enough reasons for not doing justice to what we do, right? They say you will try to love what you do until you find something that you love, right? So it's not like that, okay, my dream job is something else. Until I find that, I will not be able to do justice to what I'm doing. That's not recommended. You still have to honor, you still have to earn your paycheck, and you still have to do your best around what you are doing. And you cannot find an excuse just because your boss is bad or just because situation is not favorable. You still do your best. So again, three options are there: learn to live with the system, change the system, or quit the system. But you cannot be there complaining and not doing anything, and saying that, I'm waiting for that perfect moment when I will swing back to action. Lord Krishna is saying it's condemnable. Running is condemnable, where you're just looking at it as an excuse, but your mind is still hankering for the sense objects. So that is one part of it. Now let's move on to the next aspect. On the other hand, if you look at all these personalities in our scriptures, they are called Karam Yogis: Dhruv, Prithu, Prahlad, Ambrish, Yudhishthir, and you'll say, okay, they are all, ancient names. Lokmanya Tilak, more, some people would even say, our prime minister and all, but I don't know, not get into those details. But there are people who perform their duties. Okay, these are certified Karam Yogis. Okay, people whom we think they might be debatable, but these are certified Karam Yogis in our scriptures. Now, if you look at on their exterior, what are they doing? Okay, there's a bit of a noise coming from somewhere. Okay. What are they doing? If you look at, they are all king. They are not people in saffron clothes or somebody with long beard, or, how we typically picture an ascetic in our life. They're all kings. They are doing Sam, Danda, Bhed, all those techniques that are needed to rule. They're employing all those techniques. They employed all those techniques. And now on the exterior, there's a lot of action happening. They're taking decisions. They're forging alliances. They're punishing the criminals. They're fighting wars. Right? They're going around and dealing with people. People management is there as well. However, when they do it, there's absolutely no attachment to the results. And they are done as like an action to God. And their motive is not personal enjoyment at that point. So on the exterior, there is a lot of action happening. On the interior, absolutely no. Everything is offered to the God. They are completely detached to the process. I'll tell you a story of Prahlad. Yeah, Prahlad, I guess. Yeah. So his son and his guru's son once had an argument that who's more superior? Who's more superior? So then Guru's son said, I'm superior. Prahlad's son said, no, I'm superior. So then they said, let's go to somebody, right, who's unbiased and who's known to deliver, fair statements and justice. And Guru's son chose Prahlad. Basically, I think his name was Virochan. So he chose Prahlad. He said, let's go to Prahlad. So he said, that's my father. He said, no, but I trust him on that he will always deliver. He understands everything, the dharma and everything. And whatever word he gives, I have complete faith in it. So they had a bet that whoever is superior, the other person will have to go to the gallows. So it's like Prahlad's son is superior, then Guru's son has to go to the gallows, go to the jail, and your head you'll be executed. And that was the bet they had. And they both went to Prahlad, and this question was posed: who is superior out of the two? So Prahlad said, of course, Guru's son. Guru has a higher stature, even for a king. So by inheritance, obviously, he becomes superior than you. Prahlad's verdict was very clear. Now, because the condition was that whoever is not, he has to go to the gallows. So then Guru's son said, basically, then, your son has to go to gallows. So Prahlad, without even batting an eyelid, he said, okay, take him to gallows, execute him. Simply he said that. A father telling that his son has to be taken back to the gallows. And then when he was being taken, Guru's son said, okay, who's superior now? He said, you Then he said, okay, you have to obey my order, free him up. So Prahlad, without batting an eyelid, said, okay, free him up. So in both cases, he was neither concerned when his own son had to be sent for execution, and he was neither overjoyed now that his life was spared. Same reaction. Okay, so all these people that we're talking about, as per our scriptures, they would see a lot of action that is happening on the outside. Right? Obviously, when you are at a stature of a king, you have to take decisions. Right? You have to engage in politics also to forge alliances. All that stuff they did, they ruled for thousands and thousands of years, but they were pure Karam yogis because inwardly they were completely detached to this whole process. Okay, they were doing it as a service for God and they were offering their fruits to God, which is nothing but the concept of Karam Yoga that we have spoken about. So in this case, it is called inaction in action. This is the concept of inaction in action. Same thing which Hanumanji did. Right? Pulatsya was a Brahmin. He was the father of Ravan. So in his hierarchy, we are talking about the caste system, right? Aditya was born. And then Hanuman killed so many people. Arjun killed so many people. When in Chitragupta's diary ledger, it counted as a multiplication with 0 because it was done as a service to God. So that was a lot of action that was happening around, but inwardly it is considered as an inaction. And so that is the concept where on the outside there's a lot of activity happening, but on the inside there's absolutely nothing. And that is why you are not accruing any karma at all. That is the highest level of state. So the Karma Yoga is a stepping stone to reach that state of inaction in action. That is such a beautiful formula that God has given us around it. Let's go a little deeper, look at it, this concept through some more analogies and examples so that it makes a little more sense, and which will have a bit of a discussion as well. Now let's look at this case. Okay. Furthermore, okay, we'll add more things. So it is also called, the examples that we have looked at, they discharge their duty. So it is also called akaram or inaction, which is nothing but another name for karam yoga. So we spoke about this concept of akaram. Akaram is nothing but karam yoga. It is also called inaction in action. That is another term for karam yoga. Okay, so that is what essentially what it is. And karam yoga, we said that we practice. Now what happens when we do this practice? The gyan or the knowledge, it will start enlightening us. The concepts will start sticking. The knowledge will start getting revealed from within. Okay, these are some of the symptoms which will happen when we do this practice. So the knowledge, actually, if you look at it, we are anusat, anuchit, anuanand, right? So if you look at our soul's actual position or its true attributes, the more layers we start peeling off it, the more knowledge will start getting revealed. And maybe we'll do one session in bhakti. One of the stages that you start getting is the knowledge starts getting revealed from within. All the download you get from within. It's just like, it just makes sense. Okay, that's what starts happening when you start aligning to these principles. That's the beauty of this. And then the other part of it is called, like I said, dutiful, detached, and devotional action is called akaram or inaction in action. Now let's look at it through an example. So this person is doing yoga and meditation. However, in the mind, there's a family and job and the house, and these thoughts are coming, right? Somebody said a bad thing to me, I should pay him back. You sit in meditation, okay, if you'll be able to relate to these thoughts. Somebody did good to me, I like him so much, and these kind of thoughts are happening. And then inside you are planning how to get a better job, better money, all that stuff is happening. So is it inaction or karma? What do you think? Anybody who wants to take that question? Quick concept check.
This is normal, no? Whenever we meditate, this is normal to us. We can't even meditate for a few seconds, and our mind hovers around here and there, thinking all those things which we should not think.
Yeah, that's the bad news. The good news is, Shamji, you're not the only one, and that is where we need to get better.
Yes, Sandhya ji has hand raised. Let's ask her. Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe.
You are in elite company, let me tell you that.
Thank you so much. I'm honored.
Radhe Radhe. It's karma. It's action in supposed inaction.
And this is the concept that we have to understand. Same thing. We are sitting, that's fine. But in order to truly get that, we have to fight with our mind. If you think our mind will cooperate automatically and it will lead us to inaction, it will not happen. It is repeated practice of so many lifetimes that we have to undo. So you have to fight with your mind. Who told you your mind will cooperate? Nobody. You have to fight with your mind. Like Maharaj Ji, you said that आपको अपने मन के साथ जूझना पड़ेगा. You have to fight it. That is called sadhana. Right? No pains, no gains. It will be troublesome to begin with. Eventually, it will start cooperating, but it will not be served to you on a platter because God is noting it down. For the intent and the practice that we are putting in, we'll get credit. But hard work, there is no escape from hard work. Right? People think Ishwar Tushti, jab Bhagwan ki marzi hogi, it will just happen. No, it will not happen. It will happen only with our effort. Okay, the onus is on us. Let's understand this concept and put it very clearly in our head. Even Guru cannot make it happen. We have to do our own journey. He can guide us. You can take a horse to drinking, but cannot make him drink. That is the concept in spirituality as well. He can guide us, but when we follow him, they can support us. And then obviously when God's grace start, magical things will start happening. But that first inertia we have to break. And that can only happen when we will jujofy with our mind. On the other hand, let's look at another example. It's a very important concept. Let's get into that. So in this particular case, there is a karmic reaction even in so-called inaction. So you are still accruing karmic reaction based on the random thoughts that you are trying to, think about. If you're plotting something bad for somebody, you've already accrued karma, whether you do it or not. You've already accrued a sanskar, whether you like it or not. You've already created a homework for yourself, whether you like it or not. That is how it goes. Swamiji's new book is coming, Power of Thoughts. I just started reading it. It's such a wonderful book. Maybe we'll do a session on that, couple of sessions on that when we get to mind. And beautiful book. It talks about, see, something as innocuous or innocent as a thought is actually defining our destiny. That is how powerful a thought is. They are bundles of energy, 60,000 thoughts. Do thoughts choose us? Do we choose the thoughts? Right? And how many thoughts we choose to serve? Those are the choices we are making every moment of our life. And every thought is actually leading to a karma. Good or bad is our choice. And it's only by improving the quality of our mind can we improve the quality of our thoughts. In a lot of paths, it is said, do not desire anything. Is it possible? No. Like Buddha had 4 principles that there is misery in the world. The cause of misery is desire. You finish the desire and the misery is finished. However, in bhakti, they say the desires you cannot. Okay, we will continue to have desire. One is you can dovetail your desires. That's one part of it. The second part of it is, in fact, the outcome of that dovetailing is purifying the desires. When you purify your desires, that is when your karma will not be tainted. And what is impure desire? Impure desire is not thinking something bad about anybody. Impure desire, to put it simply, is simply thinking anything related for yourself or anything related to anything which is not related to God, or you're not offering it to God, is an impure desire, to put it very simply. To simplify this whole definition. Okay, you can have a sattvic desire, which is better than rajasic and which is better than tamasic. But end of the day, if we were to simplify this whole discussion, every desire which is not dovetailed towards God or offering the fruits to God or done for your selfish interest is an impure desire. And until we purify our desires, we are not doing karma yoga. And until we purify our desires and intentions, we cannot get God. So simple formula. Now let's look at, yes, Samji, you had a question. I've got a very interesting king here, which will clarify another concept here. Yes, please go ahead.
Before this, this is a comment from Joyanji. She
Yes.
says, Radhe Radhe, I believe it is karma, as you are rightly asked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's karma. Very true.
And
So,
yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Can I take Samji?
Sure.
Yeah. Samji, please go ahead.
Radhe,
Radhe Radhe.
this
Is it the quality of thoughts that results in quality of mind, or reverse, the quality of mind that results in
Quality of mind results in, because mind is generating the thoughts, right? 60,000 thoughts mind is generating. So if you have a dirty mind, it will generate dirty thoughts. If you have a stressful mind, it will only generate those kind of thoughts. So when you improve the quality of your mind, so Antakaran Shuddhi is the agenda of human life, which includes cleaning this dirty mind. When his mind is purified, I'll tell you, this mind is directly related to our happiness quotient, our joy quotient, our bliss quotient, and the peace that we feel within, the contentment that we have, the aura that we create, the knowledge that sticks with. Everything is related to mind. So the purer your mind, the buck stops at you. If you're not joyful, you're stressed out, your quality of mind really needs to be improved. Very simple formula. More your improved quality of your mind is, the better your thoughts would be. The more improved the quality of our mind is, the more joy you would feel from within, the more clarity you would have about life, the lesser complaints you would have, the more inspired you will feel. It's all related. It's very simple. So the onus, the buck stops at us. We cannot blame anybody else. It's a very simple formula. I hope I over answered your question. We'll come back to that. So
Yeah,
let's
you said अंतःकरण शुद्धि, तो शॉर्टकट है कुछ इसके लिए?
Shortcut to 2-minute noodles and instant coffee. Shreyas and Preyas, we have spoken about this concept, right? So God has designed this thing in such a way that things which are healthy for us are not so tasty. Ice cream, chocolate, right? If we can gorge on them. So everything is basically, we have to strive for it. God says you will not, because only when we strive for it, we know its value. If somebody is given money on a platter, will they even know the importance of hard work or building good sanskars or even becoming better for that matter? No.
Never.
God says you exert, I will help you. It's like if a kid is trying to build a capacity to lift a weight, right? He cannot do it all by himself. The father or the coach is exerting a little bit, just giving a little bit of push, and then he's able to lift it. And then once he reaches this level, and then he'll give another push. Then he reaches in a same way this principle goes. You have to do, and then God's grace will start coming in. But we have, in order to draw God's grace, we have to put in something. It's not going to be given to us on a free fund. We will not be able to value it and derive the benefit out of it, because we will not improve in that case. With so many imperfections, if God gives us on a platter, he'll be whimsical. God is not perfect in that case. You improve and you get it. It's as simple as that. And he's more than willing to help us out on this journey. Now let's look at another. Manishi will come back to you. Let's take another example. So this is a king. Okay, now there's a person brought to this king. What happened? Where did that person go? Okay, maybe I missed it. Okay, there is he. So now this person is brought to him, and he did some crime in his kingdom. So as a king, should he punish him or should he let him go? Anyways, let's continue maybe another. So now Prithviraj and Gauri, you might have heard it in history, right? How magnanimous, large-hearted Prithviraj Chauhan was. 17 times he defeated Muhammad Gauri, and every time he would let go of him. 18th time, some people say 21 times, but I'm not getting into the numbers. That's beyond the moot point. But I think it was 18th time or something like that. Mr. Gauri defeated him and he killed him. So would you say Prithviraj, what he did was it an act which should have been glorified, or it was deplorable? Was it a karma, or was it an inaction? Was he detached to this whole thing? That is why he kept on forgiving him, or would you consider it as a karma? Anybody? Somebody? Nobody?
It's more like karma, because I guess that's how we Indians are always been. We have been in the habit of forgiving people, giving them a chance to rethink about their things, deeds, and then come out again.
You're saying it's karma. Let's hear from other participants as well.
Yeah. Manish ji, Radhe Radhe.
Oh, Radhe, I wanted to actually clarify the concept so I understand it.
Sure.
But so the first one, which was inaction, right? That's basically laziness. Is that accurate?
True. Indolence, basically, where you simply run away from your responsibilities and resort to inaction. That's right.
Okay, and the second one, action in action, that's karma.
The second, inaction in action, right? You're saying inside.
Yeah, the last one you talked about, which was karma yogi, that's
It was
the
inaction.
last one, right?
Inaction in action.
Or inaction in action, right? And action in action, that's karma, right? Those
Action.
That's like where he was.
Action in inaction is actually, yes, karma, and inaction in action is actually karma yoga.
Karma, okay. Karma yogi, so that's akarma. And then inaction is like, is that considered a weak karma then?
Inaction.
Because you're doing nothing? Yeah.
You're doing nothing on the outside.
Weak karma?
If you're doing nothing on the outside, but your mind is still hanging, that is called karma. It is sinful. If you're doing a lot of activities on the outside, but inside you are completely detached to it, it is called inaction in action, which is a karma or karma yoga.
Okay. Correct. So in that case, would the king's action be like a karma yogi, since he's showing, hardness and forgiveness?
Yeah, let's hear. I'll come back to that. Let's hear from a couple of other participants, and we'll come back to that question. It's a very important concept. It's something Lord Krishna is touching upon as well in Bhagavad Gita. So,
Kumarji,
yes.
Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe. I think from Prithviraj Chauhan's story, I think it's karma, right? I would still think a king should punish, but I would say it depends, right? Sometimes first offender you kind of forgive. If he's a repeat offender, you don't. Now then you would ask, why didn't Prithviraj Chauhan did not do it? I think this can have the equivalent of that, some saint and scorpion story, right?
He was doing
the same.
About it.
They were doing whatever was natural to them. So, but I would say, I would kind of put it against. That was what his karma was, in the sense.
It's hard to say that, very true, because we cannot get into Prithviraj's head. Was he doing it as a part of his nature, or was he doing it as a service to God? We really can't crack it. We'll just look at the ramifications of it and decipher which category could it possibly fall into. But yeah, it's very difficult unless we know the intention behind that act, right? And none of us truly crack what was going on Prithviraj's head, and he's not here to explain that to us. But we'll look at it in, from a ramification standpoint, what those actions can lead to, and what is it that we can reasonably, kind of decipher from a scriptural standpoint and make an educated guess around it. That's essentially what it is. We are not passing a verdict on him today, but we're just having a good conversation to understand the concept here. But great point, Kumarji. Thank you. We're missing your partner today. Hopefully you can get her back. Usually Padmaji precedes Kumarji, so I would encourage you, Kumarji, if you can get her back, we'd love that. So let's move on to the next one.
Joanji, Radhe.
Radhe. I may be incorrect, but I would like to think that it's action in inaction. No, hang on.
Okay, Karam. You said Karam, yeah. Okay, got it.
No, it's the other one is what I'm meaning to say.
Action in.
Yes, actually, yeah, that's what I was thinking. The reason being.
Hold on. Action in inaction is Karam. Inaction in action is Karam Yoga. Okay. So the first one, I think that's what you're saying. Okay.
let's go with that for now. But I had another reasoning in my mind, but let's go with that for now. Okay.
I think you did an eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and you came up with that, huh? Maybe.
No, I had a reason in my mind, but I don't want to take up too much time. I was just thinking that it was inaction. No, it was action. He did an action by not doing anything. Like he just let him, he didn't take action. He just let him go. He forgive him.
All right.
Wouldn't that be an inaction or would that be an action? Sorry.
I'm myself confused now, but I'll come back. I'll collect my thoughts and come back to that. Yes, let's hear from Sri Ramya.
Ramya ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. So here, I think that when you try to be virtuous and forgive way too much, you're attaching somewhere to your own self that I am good, I am noble, and that self-attachment will be there. So it is again some kind of karma only due to the attachment to the self by not punishing. Like when you're a king, your duty is to punish the miscreants. Like even God does that. When we do something wrong, he brings us a lesson. I don't see it as a punishment, but a way of correction. So he should have been given a way of correction in a like in a prison manner or something, like without letting him go absolutely free. That is my opinion.
Fair point. Fair point. Let's quickly hear from Shruti, and then I will come on here, and then we'll come back to it because I wanted to give you a side-by-side comparison of both the concepts that we have discussed today, so that the concepts become a little more clear. Yes, Shruti, please go ahead.
Yeah, could you please explain action and inaction? So if inaction is laziness, then karma, which is action. So how action in inaction is karma?
That's the only question I cannot answer. Okay, if you ask me anything else, I'll answer.
Okay.
Action in inaction means that your mind. See, let's look at it from a mind standpoint. When to simplify this conversation, the first word when you say action in inaction, so action, you just attach the first word to mind. If your mind is doing action, but outside from your body, you might be lying around and lazing around and running away, right? That is called action in inaction. It is the work of mind which God notes. It's not the work of your body. That is the key concept. What you do.
How can you be like inactive when you're active? Like if I'm cooking, how can I be inactive?
So I'm giving you the other example where somebody might be lying down in the bed. He's looking at it, right? However, when he's sitting, he might be plotting something. This person said this to me, and then this said to me, my sister-in-law is like that, and then my brother-in-law, if you're thinking that on the outside, you're not doing anything, but through your mind, you're doing a lot of action. That is called action in inaction. Okay, so it's the work of mind, which is called action. In the second case, inaction in action means you're doing a lot of activities on the outside. You're dealing with people, taking decisions, setting criminals to jail and parting with people. But in your mind, you're completely detached. You're probably offering the fruits to God and you just understand the big picture around it. That is called inaction. This is the concept because your mind, where your mind is, if it is attached to God, it is called inaction. If it is attached to the world, it is called action. Just to simplify this, very simply.
Okay.
It makes
Yeah, not clearly, not exactly, but yeah.
Okay, so if you're cooking, let's pick an example that you want to pick. Okay, what is your example? Tell me that.
Let's say if I am like, okay, I'm with kids teaching them or doing whatever. So then I am doing my action.
Yeah,
then my whole mind would be in whatever I'm doing. So that would be action. It cannot be in action, in inaction, right?
It's called action in action. Okay, let me introduce a third thing. You're doing karma.
That would be action in action, right?
Action in action. You're doing outwardly also you're doing action, inwardly also you're doing action, which is fine, which is karma.
Yeah.
The action in inaction is something which is bad karma. Lord Krishna has called it as sinful because you're first running away from your duties, but your mind is in the world. Okay, so if you're cooking or let's say you're teaching your kids,
Yeah, now it's clear.
action,
Yeah.
the mind is also
Action
doing
and
action in action. It is a simple karma. If you're doing action in inaction, that is called sinful karma.
Yeah.
And if you're doing inaction in action, it is called gunati
Simple.
or karma yoga. I hope that clarifies now.
Yeah, now it's clear. Thank you. Yeah, so I would agree with Kumarji, but because I don't think either that we can actually make out what how someone is performing their action, like
it's very difficult to know that because we don't know what's going on in
God, like how Prithviraj Chauhan did, if he was thinking that God will punish.
We cannot know that. Very true. Let's objectively look at it from
very kind, but I think it was action in action. Action in action. Yeah.
So let's objectively look at it as a king. If you are sparing somebody, what happened after that? Let's look at the ramification. The entire Chauhan clan was decimated. Okay, there was a lot of atrocities that were carried out in kids and women. And Bharatvarsh or Hindustan, at that point, it was plundered and a lot of atrocities were carried out. So because a king could not deliver his duty as a Kshatriya to protect the citizens properly, it had a lot of ramifications around it. And same thing, Krishna is telling Arjuna also, that as a Kshatriya, if you run away from your duty, it can cause massive damage to the society down the line. So that is where the call of duty is being reckoned upon. So if you simply run away from our duty, he did not run away. Obviously, maybe, I don't know what calculations he did, but its ramifications were disastrous down the line. I don't know, Mr. Chitragupta, would he call, because his intentions matter at the end of the day. If he's offering it to God, maybe things would have been different. But then this concept of our duty, big people can get it wrong as well. We can probably discuss in one of the days about Mahatma Gandhi as well, right? Non-violence is one of the things our scriptures say, but at the same time, they also tell you that, non-violence is good, but there are times when you need to pick up weapon as well, right? Now, that's a different matter. He was able to mobilize 40 crore people and getting independence without lifting a weapon itself is a big deal, right? But then do we stick to it regardless or not? Nobody can understand. God only can understand what is the true dharma. And that is why finally he says, forget all the dharma, just surrender to me. Because more often than not, we'll get it wrong. It's not a topic that with our mundane intellect, there are chances that more often than not, we'll get it wrong. Now let's look at it side by side comparison, and then Ashuji will come back to you for your viewpoints. Quick discussion. Karma is like 69. You get what you give. Okay, I found it interesting, so I thought, okay, I'll put it here. Let's look at some of the differences here. If you look at action and inaction, you do personal enjoyment is the motive. You think about that guy who's running away from the duties, personal enjoyment. In this, no motive for personal enjoyment, inaction. I'm just putting side by side so that you can understand. This is artificial renouncement, where Falgu Vairagya we spoke about. This is performance of social duties without attachment to results. This one is mind contemplates sense objects. You are still not done with the sense objects. You just find things miserable, but you're hankering for something better. Here you dedicate the fruits of your actions to God. This one is entangled in karmic reactions. This one, no entanglement in karmic reactions. This one is lethargic idleness is sinful. This is called a karma or inaction, a karma yoga. This is pathway to hell, sinful. This is pathway to liberation. More importantly, if you look at it, you are doing addition in your karma. You are creating more baggage when you do that, good or bad. In this case, you are multiplying it by 0. Any questions on that? And now we can get back to the other discussion topics that we had. Yes, Ashaji, sorry, I will pull it back.
Anji has a comment there, thought there. She says that what I was trying to say is that the king did not act appropriately in action by not punishing him action. I think he was detached from his action.
Very true. So we don't know what the point here is. We can only look at the ramifications. As a king, he let his country down in the long run. Now, what his intent was, nobody will ever come to know. And I'm just mapping it back to what Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, you do your duty. Otherwise, the ramifications will be even more disastrous. That's essentially what it is. We don't know what's going on in his head, basically. Yes.
Yeah, Radhe, I just want to ask a quick question on this chart that you put up there, Nitinji. Should that be action in inaction?
Oh yes, action. Sorry, good. Because see,
Yeah, because it's saying action in action. Yeah, yeah.
the confusion was not already there. I did a typo as action in action. Very true.
That's okay. That's what I wanted to clarify. Yeah.
Yes, good catch. Good catch. Before it created more confusion.
No problem.
So now we'll do one quiz and we'll see how many of you got this concept. Hopefully, all of you. Okay, is it correct now?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful.
I'm sure it's correct now. Yeah.
Okay, I was not even sharing the screen after correcting it.
Well, I saw you typing, so I know you corrected it. So.
Okay, so yes, do we have anybody now? Ashaji had her hand raised, so we can get to that. And also any questions that you may have on topic that we discussed today. And please fill out the feedback tracker in the meantime. We can continue with our discussion. Any question or any remarks that you may have.
Ashaji, Radhe, please go ahead.
May I speak?
Yes,
please.
Radhe. Yeah, okay. I think that one story is about one sadhu and bichu. हाँ, वो साधु का पानी में से वो बिच्छू को बचाता है बार बार और अपने हाथ में लेता है डूबते हुए बिच्छू को बचाने के लिए, क्योंकि उसका स्वभाव है कि जीव मात्र पर दया रखना और उसको बचाना। तो वो हर बार बचाता है, हर बार बिच्छू उसको हथेली पर डंक मारता है, फिर भी वो वही करता रहता है। तो कोई उससे देखने वाला उससे कहता है कि साधु जी आप ये क्यों कर रहे हैं, वो बार बार आपको डंक मार रहा है। तो साधु बोलता है कि ये मेरा स्वभाव है, मेरा धर्म है कि एक जीव को बचाना, और बिच्छू की प्रकृति ये है कि वो किसी को भी वो जो डंक मारना, वो नहीं देखता कि ये उसे बचाने वाले का हाथ है। तो ये उसकी प्रकृति है, वो उसकी प्रकृति नहीं छोड़ता, धर्म नहीं छोड़ता, तो मैं क्यों छोड़ू। तो आई थिंक दैट पृथ्वीराज चौहान मस्ट बी ए किंग, बट बाय दिल से वो एक संत होगा, क्योंकि हमारे राजाओं को गुरुकुल में पहले ऋषि मुनियों से शिक्षा मिलती थी। तो हमारी संस्कृति के ये बेसिक वैल्यूज हैं जो उसने अपने जीवन में एब्सॉर्ब किए होंगे। और आपकी बात ये सही है कि उसकी ड्यूटी ये थी कि उसके परिणाम को उनको सोचना चाहिए। तो ये उसने सोचा होगा, श्रद्धा रखी होगी उसकी मानवता पर कि ये कृतज्ञता रखेगा, कृतघ्नी नहीं बनेगा। उसने विश्वास गलत रखा होगा और इसका परिणाम ये हुआ कि उसकी ये जो विनाश हुआ पूरा ये हुआ। मगर आई थिंक दैट मस्ट बी द रीजन। आप उसको जो भी नाम दे, मगर मैं उससे, और ये अति सर्वत्र वजह
बिच्छू का काटना साधु तक सीमित,
ये गलत है। हाँ, साधु को ये था, मगर जो उसकी ड्यूटी थी राजा की, सोसाइटी के हित के लिए सोचने की, उससे वो चूक गया शायद। और इसके
सही बात। So the whole objective
मैं ये सोचती हूँ।
या बहुत क्लियर हमारा जो उद्देश्य था आशा जी, वो पृथ्वीराज चौहान के ऊपर टिप्पणी करने या उनके स्वभाव का आंकलन करने का नहीं था। The whole objective of the discussion was just to see how we can err sometimes from our duties, right? We don't know from the big picture. He might not have erred, he might have done it as per his nature. But the point here is sometimes when we turn our back towards, he did not turn his back. उन्होंने हटे नहीं अपनी ड्यूटी से वो, but when we turn our back towards, it simply counts as a karma or even a sinful karma. So there are only three categories of karma. First is karma, right, that we do, and it can fall into two categories. Either it can be bad karma or it could be good karma, or the third would be akaram part of it, where you are doing a gunatit karma, where that karma is not adding any more baggage to your existing backlog that you have. So agar hum acha, if we do the good deed, hopefully good deed, then we accrue meritorious deeds. If we don't do good, that is what Lord Krishna is talking about. Artificially don't renounce anything. The bare minimum we have to do, that we have spoken about this concept. It's called the hygiene criteria, or the baseline that we have to meet in this world is by doing good karma, doing karma in accordance with scriptural injunctions. If we don't even do that, we are not doing ourselves a favor. That is what our scriptures are telling us. But then we have, over time, we have to rise above even the good karmas and start bringing God into the mix. That is the whole objective of spirituality, because good karmas can take us only so far. They do not have the ability to take us to God or even to liberation for that matter. They are also binding. So that is the whole this discussion is about. And then the second key learning for me personally was, we cannot judge a saint through their external actions alone. When we go meet a saint, right, they will not put a board in front of them that I am Golok return, Bhagavad Prapt, Anand Prapt. They will not say that. So if we simply judge them with their actions and their external appearances, that is not the right way to do that. They might look ordinary. They might do actions very simply. And if we judge it with our this buddhi, and all the Prahlad, Dhruv, can anybody look at their attire and see, they are going on a hathi as a kingly royal thing? These people would be liberated, or Jivan Mukta people? Nobody can do that, because they will be only looking at their externals. A saint, nobody can make out. You may see him in a sports shoes and you still will not be able to understand. I have enough stories, I'll tell you some other day. So the point here is, let's not judge saints or people. Let's not fall into the trap of judging it with our mundane intellect. He walks like this, talks like this, height is like this, should have had a beard, or they do not have long hair. No, externals don't matter at all, because it's an internal matter. So inaction in action is the concept where, do we know what is going on inside somebody? Nobody can know that. And on the contrary, action in inaction, simply by looking at exterior, you cannot say this person is a saint, or wow, what a person he is. That is a key thing, right? We fall into that trap of judging people just by their external appearances, and we apply the same formula to God and Guru as well. We need to refrain from that, because it's an internal thing nobody will come to know. Yes, with God's grace, we will get indications as we progress on this path. But beforehand, our natural predispositions about judging people, saints, even elevated personalities, just because how you saw them walk and talk, that is not a good trap to fall into. And your mind will do that, I'm telling you, because of repeated practice of so many lifetimes. It'll say, okay, let me look at, no, by the way, I don't think so. Just tell your mind, inaction in action, action in action, you will never know. Somebody might look very saintly on the exterior, right? And internally, they may have their motive, personal interests going on. How would you know that? Nobody can know that. And if we are putting our intellect to saintly people and judging them, it is in a way spiritual transgression as well. So just suspend your judgment. Don't listen to your mind in these kind of scenarios. But at the same time, pray to God that obviously I need to find a saintly person, and you have to reinforce that faith in me, because without God's grace, we cannot. And at the same, we cannot blindly follow anybody, and at the same time, we cannot be skeptical. So we have to deal with these dualities with God's grace and His. That is how it is complicated, right? You say, can I believe everybody blindly? Of course not. Can I always be skeptical? Of course not. Then how do I know that? So you have to pray to God. God is seated within, and He will make sure you get the firm faith also, and you land up with somebody who will not lead your spiritual journey astray. That is how this process goes. Okay. Any questions? Please fill out the feedback tracker as well. In the meantime, quick announcements.
Yes. Let me
announcements. One is
I have already shared the feedback tracker. Please share your thoughts, comments, suggestions, and we have a yoga festival coming up from 15 June till 21st June. Please register yourself for this event. And then we have a family camp Dallas coming up in the month of June end. That's from June 24th, June 30th. Please register yourself either online or offline. It's a once in a year opportunity for all of us. And then we also have a kids camp, people around Dallas. By anything else I
Yes,
missed out?
one adjustment I will make. Please register online or offline. I will substitute offline with in person. Okay. So you can join online or in person. Offline, I don't know. Shyamji has some formula to make you join offline. So please share that with us, Shyamji.
Sure, I will, Nitin. Do that.
Great. So please do plan for it. I think it's coming pretty fast now. Yoga Fest is going to start as well. Do register for it. And do take all these wonderful opportunities that are on offer. So, all
And
right.
also, please people to come forward to this session, because we only have few participants who just come up with their thoughts and their questions. So we are 70 people out here. So I request people to come forward with their thoughts, views, questions, so that we can give a time to think and for act all of us. Because he only has few people who he knows he can read them. So I would request people to come forward. Yeah, we have Swati ji now.
Yeah, I would encourage everybody. You can put question in the feedback tracker or come forward. It's always good to hear perspectives and have a face-to-face interaction as well. Let's hear from Swati ji, and a couple of other hands are there as well.
Yeah, sure. Swati ji, I can't unmute her. Yeah, she's there now. Yeah.
Radhe Radhe. Am I?
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Am I audible?
Yes, we are audible.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing, that in Maharaj's video, I have heard this, that when you search for the guru and if you get some wrong, you may get it wrong guru also, but then we cannot tell to God afterwards that I tried my best and I got this guru, because you have to judge him. We have that before doing charity also, he said that you cannot say just that I gave him charity and he misused it. That you have to get that knowledge. You have to put it in the proper patra, and you have to find the real guru.
Yes.
So that is, you have to use your mind and intellect and all that. You cannot just run away from the responsibility that I didn't know that.
Very true.
I wanted to just clear.
No, great point. In fact, see, when you approach somebody, first of all, we have to check our intention around it. Right? The most important mindset to have is the purity of intention. Am I approaching somebody because I want to go to Swarg? Am I approaching somebody because I want the next best thing the material world has to offer to me? Am I approaching somebody? So that intent, right? God knows that, and he will lead you to a person that will give you more of it. Krishna says that I'm going to solidify your faith in whatever you think is important for you. That is a double-edged sword. So if you are approaching it with these intents, obviously you'll find people who will tell, just listen to my discourse and the gates of Swarg will be open for you. Or you do this and you will get this. Right? So you'll fall for that. Who's to be blamed, the guru or you? Your intention. You did not purify your intention because you had something going on inside you because of which you, and God said, all right, go ahead with it. So the buck stops at us for everything. It's as simple as that. We can't blame anybody. Somebody took us for a ride. No, you made a choice. Yes.
Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So, so this is regarding the question about that king. So yeah, I think, I mean, if we assume that his mind was not attached to God while he was performing those or taking those decisions, then I think it was performed in sattva gun kind of consciousness, and that would be karma. And I think with respect to this action and inaction and inaction in action concept, I feel this also relates with those 4 quadrants that we had discussed earlier, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's just the reiteration of that.
The same concept, yeah.
The point here is, if you look at it, action in inaction or inaction in action, the key word, first word, just put it in mind.
Mind, yeah.
That's all.
Right, yeah.
Your
So
mind,
mind hari mein tan jagat mein, the same thing basically.
same concept. It's just another way of employing those lenses. Great find, Sandhya. Well understood.
Yeah, I think this point was really nice that you mentioned that बुद्धि हम जगत में है तो हमें हमारी बुद्धि का यूज करना है, बट जब हरि वाले कॉन्सेप्ट में है तो बुद्धि को साइड में रखना है।
मन भगवान में, बुद्धि संसार में. Our principle is just the opposite. Our man is in world, buddhi bhagwan mein. Right? You put scriptural principles, people have tons of doubt. They think they are the most intellectual people and they are the only logical people after the saints who have all these questions. They don't understand that people have thought through these things, right? Their answers are available. So yes, we have to get our questions clarified, not with a skeptical attitude, but with a submissive spirit. And Lord Krishna says we are fast approaching that shloka 4.34. I'm really looking forward to it. He says that you approach a spiritual master with a submissive spirit. Tad vidhi pranipaten pariprashnena sevaya. You put your intellect their lotus feet and then ask with submissive spirit, and the knowledge will be revealed to you, given to you. Right? Tons of questions, and within a month, one day you'll wake up and you just know all the answers. That is the power of Guru when you become Sharanagat and surrendered. So the way we approach a guru or a spiritual master with a submissive spirit is the thing. If we go with a skeptical attitude, then we will never get it. Whole life we will keep on searching for answers, we will not get it. Lord Krishna has made it very clear. Humility and faith and submissive spirit, they are the key ingredients to get this knowledge. Otherwise, no way. You will keep on getting confused. Theories, philosophies, and whole life will be a wild goose chase. Okay, let's hear. I can see Sanji.
Ji, Radhe Radhe.
Next. Yes, Shri.
Radhe Radhe. With reference to Swati's comments, you replied that God sees your intention and then accordingly they provide you fulfillment of your desires.
Yep.
But there is a proverb that man proposes, God disposes. So how do you say about it? Actually, whatever is in your benefit, God will provide you that only. It is not that what you intend.
So, Rajitji, I think there is a technical difference between what we said. When you are thinking about your spiritual seeker, right? As a seeker, you are there. He will lead you to a guru that is needed for you to take the next step. Maybe you have to exhaust certain vasanas in your life. Until then, you will not progress. So if that is the case, he'll lead you to a guru so that you become satisfied. This also did not give me what I was looking for. But yes, if you are going to desire everything and anything and everything, not like a kalpavriksha is going to give you, but he will give you what is truly needed for you in a manner where you can learn something out of it, not in a manner where you ruin yourself. He will not do that. Right? So his pills come in not in a sugar-coated way. It may come as a hard pill as well from time to time. But when it comes to seeking, we got to be careful about what we are truly seeking, because he will lead you to that kind of a guru as well. And if we get cheated, then that is the lesson for us to say that, this is not what I should have been seeking. As scriptures tell us, we have to ask God for God, nothing else. But if you're asking God for anything that God can give, then you take your time. You'll find enough people out there. Duryodhan did the same, by the way. And if we are simply repeating what Duryodhan did, when we go to God and ask for things what God can give, and it's not a good game plan. And God wants us to learn our lessons our own way. He's not going to come in your dream and say, hey, no, by the way, this is not what you should be asking. He said, all right, be my guest, learn it yourself, and then that gyan will be pakka in your head.
So can we say this? Every coin has got two sided. So there are the two ways the God fulfill your desires. Either it will be as per his desire or as per your desire.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, because we can't get into God's mind. The only thing as I know, that if you go by the shlokas, Lord Krishna tells us that whatever you put your faith in, right? Let's say your motto of life is to, become opulent, or Bhagwan's kripa is in getting everything perfect in this material world. He'll solidify your faith in that. Doesn't mean he'll give you everything, but he'll solidify your faith in that. He'll solidify your faith in Devi Devtas. He'll solidify your faith in all the superstitions you want to believe. That will continue. But then will he fulfill all your desires? Only he knows. In appropriate time, prarabdha, you have to go through that. Algorithm, I don't know how that works. Who's talking? Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's a pretty complex algorithm, Ajitji. We can only go by what our scriptures tell us. So in that case, Lord Krishna is saying, wherever you put your faith, I'm going to solidify it. He's going to solidify the faith. He's not, okay, whatever you desire, I'll give you. He's not saying that anywhere.
No, there is no life manual. So we are here to interpret whatever is happening in this world events. Yeah.
Yeah, so manual is scriptures and Bhagavad Gita. If we have a question, I don't think there is any question in this world which does not have an answer in Bhagavad Gita. And if there is a question, we'd be interested to know that question and find out why we can't find an answer in Bhagavad Gita. So every question has an answer.
Okay, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. It's a product manual, right? We use the product called human life and without reading the manual. For other things, we first read the manual and then use the product. So we are just flipping that model here. So the idea is to now hopefully get a better understanding on the manual of using this product called human life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Venkatji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Shyamji, Radhe Radhe Nitinji. Nitinji, I think you mentioned, and I wanted to clarify once again that you said like action in inaction is a sin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I was thinking that, for example, if we are taking like live example, like if you are doing some puja, some vrata or something, and meanwhile, like we are not 100% there yet, right? As I always say that. So we get some idea, some other thoughts in between. So does that mean that we are like getting ourselves into more sinful actions there, or is it something that we are getting some benefits due to the puja? At the same time, we are also thinking about material world. So we are also adding more karma to our things. So how do we take this? Because this is more practical for most of us.
True. So there are two ways to look at it, right? One is pap, one is punya. Now we're going to get into a little deeper philosophy here. Pap, punya, and then there is something called beyond pap and punya.
Yeah, moksha, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Beyond pap and punya is where you are attaching your mind to God. Now it's neither pap nor punya. So if we are, again, if you were to, so when you are thinking, let's say you're thinking about things which are uplifting, beneficial, not negative thoughts and all that stuff, yeah, you're probably accruing positive karma or punya around that. And if you're having negative thoughts and doing all that stuff, you are probably accruing sinful karmas around that. But then if from a spiritual standpoint, Shri Maharaj Ji simply says pap and punya both are pap. Okay, it's a very difficult definition to digest, but more often than not, we are just doing pap only, because when we are not thinking about God, we are accruing baggage, whether good or bad, it's still bad, right? It's very difficult definition, but we are, I mean, it's far long shot, aspirational shot. But like you said, when you're doing puja, it's not that you're special sin you will incur if you're not thinking about God. It's just like in the day-to-day life as well, whether you're sitting in front of God and thinking about the world, or you're thinking in front of your computer and thinking about the world, it's the same. God is not going to penalize us that, hey, this time you are thinking, so I'm going to give you double penalty. No, it's the same thing. Where your mind is, you're going to get that effect, good or bad. But the idea is we have to train our mind to say that we spend our entire day thinking about the world. This is the time I'm going to block out the entire world and have a one-on-one with God and Guru. So that discipline we need to bring, and it will not come naturally. We'll have to train our mind. That is what our scriptures are telling us. That time you have to block out the world and say, okay, it's just my karam sannyas sadhana with you, God and Guru. That is what our scriptures are recommending us. That's the only way to progress, by the way.
I have follow-up question, quick question, but if we have time, otherwise we can discuss tomorrow also. I'll put the question, but we can always discuss in tomorrow's session if you start off. So for example, people like who do chanting with the number of rounds of chanting, like every day kind of thing. For example, if I take name, ISKCON, for example, they do like minimum 16 rounds of chanting every day, which takes around 2 hours solid, approximately 2 hours. So do we really think about only God for the entire 2 hours? I doubt. At least I cannot do it. I cannot do it at least. Yes, there may be some people who are matured enough that they can do it, but then in that case, we are doing for the sake of common purpose.
Something is better than nothing. Let me just put it that. Kabir Jas ji has given a doha, Mala pherat jug gaya, phirana man ka pher. Right? So, end of the day, if we don't have the remembrance, it is pure mechanical drill All right, you're not thinking about the world and things like that. Maybe you're not. So from that sense, where you're bringing in some discipline, but other than that, even if we have said God's name once, one mala if we have done in one life, we have already done million malas. Have we achieved God because of it? No. So the key thing is remembrance. In fact, remembrance is called the prana of your dhyan. If you take the prana or the life force out of something, what is it? Dead body. Similarly, if you take the remembrance of any of the practice that you are doing, it's a mechanical drill. It may have some effect, something is better than nothing, but actually, factually, you're not getting the benefit that you should get. Yeah, God, even if you're focusing on God's name when you're reciting, that will also have an effect because God has all powers in his name. But some connection with God has to be there, either with remembering God himself or focusing on the alphabet or something to that effect. That is the recommended practice.
Right. Thank you, Nitinji. Sorry.
No worries. I think it's a very important question. Maharaji has given tons of lectures on this. Swamiji talks about that as well. And that is where man se bhakti is the key thing. Mind is the whole game. You are not what your senses are doing. You are not what your body is doing. You are what your mind is doing. This is the key concept. Right? We can continue saying God, God, and Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, or Radhe Radhe, or whatever. Or we can keep on doing like this with our body. Will it count for anything? No. What counts for is where your mind is. In fact, there's a beautiful story. I know we don't have time. Maybe I'll touch it upon tomorrow. Between Arjun. Okay, I'll quickly recite it. Arjun and Bhim, by the way. So Arjun also had a pride that he's a big Shiv Bhakt. And he told, Bhim was just lying down and sleeping like this. So he told Krishna, this guy is always lying indolent like this, lying down and doing nothing. And I came from Shiv Puja or something like. He had some kind of a pride that he had developed. So Krishna said, okay, let me put things in perspective for him. So he takes him to Shivlok, and then that's where some, in the Shivling there, few flowers were there. So then he asked, who brought these flowers, in little flowers? He said, that is coming from Arjun's bhakti. You had put it in Shivling in the morning, they have been transported here. And after that, there's a truckload of flowers came. They were put on Shivling. He said, where are these coming from? It said, that guy Bhim, who's sleeping there, that's where they are coming from. So his bhakti was put in perspective. So it's in mind what you are doing. You could be sleeping and still be doing Hare Krishna and thinking about God. You are getting the benefit. And at the same time, you might be actually taken bath and doing all the pujas in front of God, and your mind is somewhere, you're not getting any credit. So it's where your mind is what the real deal is. All right.
That means why for last so many years, what I was doing was all waste. So for the past 2 years only, जो कुछ कर रहा हूँ मैं कर रहा हूँ. मतलब जिंदगी पूरी मैंने व्यर्थ कर दी नाम जपने में. नाम तो भगवान में था, बट ध्यान तो कहीं और ही था. अब अकल आई है, लेकिन देर से आई, लेकिन आ तो गई.
जब जागो तब सवेरा. So हम सब, we are all in the same.
लेकिन जाके देर से है ना, बहुत उम्र पूरी बीत गई सोने में.
Not late. Time is always right for the right thing. So we have to look at
we are where we ought to be. That's for sure.
So the quality matters over quantity here. Even if it's 2 minutes, we need to increase that practice, but then that has to be spot on focus. Take help from chantings, bhajans, whatever it is. But that time has to be with God. That commitment we have to make and get better over time. If you don't make that commitment, then we'll be all over the place. So.
True. Yeah. Venkatji says, Radhe Radhe Shyamji. That's exactly with most of us. I true that. That's how we all are.
If we had not come across this proper scriptural gyan, we all would continue leading the same way, right?
The same, yeah.
That is why Maharaj and Swamiji, they have given us the true nuggets from our scriptures, so that all the efforts that we are putting in are directed, and we get the required fruits out of them. That is where knowledge comes in very handy. Ignorance is not a bliss.
Not now, yes. Yeah, Sandhya ji says binding versus non-binding. I guess I lost the track. Maybe you can.
Sorry.
Sandhya ji says binding versus non-binding. I guess for some point she said that, but maybe.
Binding means the karma that binds us to this world, which repeats us in this world. Non-binding means which takes us more towards liberation. So one is the world, one is the liberation. So binding means you are taking step towards the world, to repeat yourself here. Non-binding means you are nullifying and burning off your karmas and taking steps towards liberation or being Jivan Mukt. That's a
Yeah, we were discussing Pap Punya. So I think Pap Punya are binding and
they both are binding.
Karma Yoga is non-binding. So that, yeah.
Beautiful, very true. Pap Punya both are Pap. Maharaj says that.
We are already over time. It's already 9 at my place.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I know.
Ashutosh says he wants to recite a song if we have time, and we also have 3 more hands. So I can take that as you say. I'm okay.
1 minute each, real quick, and then we can wrap it up. Let's not make it too late for Shyamji. He must have.
No, I'm okay. It's okay.
We don't want to cut down on your sadhana time because we know how motivated you are. So.
Shiramya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Right, Shiramya, 1 minute each for each. Yeah, let's quickly wrap it up.
Radhe, Radhe. So I wanted to say that if you are thinking of doing something, but if you are not doing it, then it is action in inaction. So procrastination also comes under this category.
Yep. Very true.
Okay.
Beautiful. Very nice.
That's it.
No, great point, Shiramya ji. You have developed an artificial intelligence algorithm around this concept, which is very nice. Thank you very much. Yes, Samji. Now I'm going to get the most difficult question of the day. Yes.
No, so in the example of Prithviraj Chauhan, if he were to surrender to God, what is the ideal thing that he should have done?
I don't know, basically. Surrender to God. See, Arjun, not everybody has a benefit like Arjun, where God is telling him, this is my will. Just do it. Then you can take your best bet around that. Pray to God that he guides you so that you can align to his will. It's very difficult to know God's will otherwise. I don't know what would have been, but as a Kshatriya, your duty is to protect your motherland, whatever it takes. Maybe he took a calculated risk, it didn't work out. So it's very difficult to know that. It's a very difficult question, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry to disappoint you, but Prithviraj Chauhan, I'll have to do a bit of a thesis on him to understand why he did what he did. So, yes, Kumarji, you wanted to sing a song? You have 60 seconds for that.
Oh, I'm not singing a song, but one thing which Shyamji said, right? He was chanting and then, without that bow and all that stuff. What my thought is, like I've also thought sometimes, I have wasted time, but it's a journey. I don't think we should say we wasted time because Bhagavad Gita in a verse actually says this: whatever happened for good. Whatever is happening for good, and whatever happens will happen for good, right? So probably the chanting, even though it was a mindless chanting, led you to this journey here, right? If you had not done even that, probably where you were, who knows,
yes,
right?
Everything is a stepping stone. Great point, Kumarji. And it is also said that everybody is perfectly situated where they need to be. So that means we need certain things before we can actually come to a point where things start falling in place. So yes, in that sense, but then once we understand the principles, then the pace is something that can be dictated by us. We can choose to crawl, we can choose to run, we can choose to go on a bicycle, we can choose to take a rocket. That choice becomes ours from that point onwards.
And also just one more point which I want to make is, sometimes we have this issue, right? Is it what I'm doing is right or not? I think our conscience really will tell us, because at least for me, I cannot, I do something wrong, and the more I keep it as it is, it troubles me on a daily basis, right? I might try to ignore it, like say watch a movie or something like that. At the end of the movie, the feeling will still come back.
True.
So,
when you
and
do,
if, yeah, go ahead.
No, finish your thought real quick.
And if you do something good, kind and something good, that your conscience, you will feel good, right? That's what Swamiji also says: do good, feel good, think good. And of course, thought is the first thing. But that's the one I'm working on, because most of the things I've kind of little, moved on to the positive side, but thoughts still come and go, right? Negative thoughts do come. And luckily I don't take any action, because I procrastinate on that. And in a way it is good, because then I'm happy that I didn't take that action. I didn't become angry, or I didn't take a hasty action, which I used to take before.
Sure.
So, but our conscience, if we contemplate on it, and think about it, anything wrong we do will not let us be at peace. Thanks.
Beautiful point. Just last thing, the thoughts, right, that we come, they are usually not preceded, but followed by a certain kind of a feeling. Now, the easy way to know that is if you are harboring a lot of negative thoughts, the feeling after the fact will not be good. So your feeling would testify the quality of thought that you had, or you had been surfing in your head. And with uplifting noble thoughts, the feeling will be good after the fact. So it's a very simple test. Whatever we have thought long, hard enough, we have chosen to think about the feeling after that. If it is good, quality of thought was good. If it is not good, it is not good. Very simple test. We'll talk more about it. Let's do our closing prayers. I know it's very late, so tomorrow we will continue. We will discuss arithmetic, a little bit of arithmetic of life. Okay, so let's do our closing prayers for now. Who's going to do that? Thank you, Shyamji, for staying around for a little bit more. Let's do quickly our prayers.
Venkatji has hand raised. Yeah, Venkatji, please go ahead.
Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful day and a great rest of your evening.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Radhe Radhe.